Hi everybody, welcome to Caketastic Cakes. It's Jen and I'm going to show you today how I made a regular old sheet cake and turned it into a #1 lumberjack themed cake for our first birthday. And if you see any tools or supplies I use that you can use, check the link in the description below to help you out. There it is. Okay, there's my sheet cake. I've got a plain white sheet cake. It's been iced. It's filled with a strawberry jelly filling stuff. And the client asked that I turn it into something a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to begin by carving it. So I'm taking out my little measuring tape that I use there, measuring my two sides, and I'm going to shape it into a #1. All I'm doing right now is just using my knife blade to press into the icing and just kind of hash out where I'm going to cut. So I'm just putting it all together here, and I also want to try to retain as much of the original cake as possible, so that way there will be as many servings as possible left of the sheet cake. Okay, so once I have it all mapped out there, I'm going to start making my actual cuts. You can see the little bit of pink icing, or the pink filling coming through from the strawberry filling. And I am just cutting it away. I'm trying to be careful not to smear it too much onto the cardboard cake plate that it's sitting on, because it is sitting on just an unfinished cake plate, so there's no like wax surface on it or anything too much, and I was afraid it might stain. So I just carved away at it until I was happy with how it looked, until I had a nice little #1 shape going on. And if you do decide to ever carve a sheet cake, I am going to say, my advice for you is to take little pieces at a time, because you can always take more away. It's super hard to put any of it back. This is what I ended up with, though. I had the strawberry filling in the center kind of showing and squishing out. So I took my little spatula there, scraped out a little hollow along the edges, and then piped some crusting buttercream into the groove I made, and then sealed it all back up with a little bit more of the buttercream icing. So this way I created a dam, icing dam where there wasn't one, so that way that soft, squishy, store-bought filling won't come out if they're moving the cake around or anything like that. It'll stay nice and tidy. I did this all around all the edges that had the cuts there too. I thought I had recorded it all, but it turned out I had not. I forgot to push record. So yes, my humanity shows many times every day. It reminds me. Okay, so I finished up all those little edges I cut, made them nice and smooth. A little bit of the strawberry got away from me there, but that's okay. There's my #1. I like it. I'm happy with it. I'm going to stick it in the fridge to let it set up and make sure it's nice and firm. Okay, once it comes out of the refrigerator and it's nice and firm, as I may have mentioned a second ago, I'm going to cover it all now with some red buttercream icing. I just made this myself, and since the other icing is nice and cold, I'm basically using it like a crumb coating. So yeah, there you go. I'm putting a nice layer of the red on top. Going to have it all over the sides as well, because this is still going to be a lumberjack themed cake. And I'm going with the red buffalo plaid decoration idea of it, and so the red coloring. All right, so now that I've got the red coloring on, I'm going to add a border of brown fondant. I had mixed this fondant, it was just white food fondant that I mixed with food coloring, and I left it kind of stripy. I didn't mix it all the way through to give it more of a wood grain or a panel, like a wood panel, 70s wood panel look. And so, yeah, lumberjack wood paneling, right? It just goes together. Why not? So I'm going to wrap the whole entire cake in this fondant trim. And where the two edges are coming together, I'm just going to kind of pinch and rub and press and gently try to coerce them together to get rid of as much of the seam as possible. But since this cake is very long, very long, very long, I'm not able to cut, one big giant long stripe of fondant and have it not lose shape or fall apart on me. So I'm just doing it in little sections again, just kind of pinching it together, rub it together as best I can. Using my fondant paddle there, my little smoother, to press it so it stays nice and even. And just keep going all the way around. When you come to the last piece, once again, just do your best you can to smooth it together. And now you got to do a little cleanup. I have a very lightly damp paper towel with just a little bit of water on it that I'm trying to get as much of the red that's coming out pretty far as possible off, just rubbing and wiping. Again, not too worried about the stuff that's peeking out at the very bottom, because I am going to cover that up with a border anyway. Now I'm using just some brown sugar, or it might be sugar in the raw, actually. I forget which one I used. I think it was sugar in the raw. And I'm just sprinkling some over the bottom of my cake, because, lumberjack, woods, dirt, it all kind of goes together. And going with the same lumberjacky theme, I'm adding my green border here. I was kind of going with the whole woodland theme idea, so again, the green of the leaves and everything else like that. So I made this really nice border all the way around. I did it all around the bottom edge, which was, again, before why I said I'm not really worried about how clean the very edges were of the cake, if a little bit of the red was peeking out, because it's all getting covered up anyway. So I go all the way around the bottom. Now I'm going to go all the way around the top, and there you go. It's all, festive. And so I added the child's name to the cake. This is some gum paste letters that I made. In order to give it more of a woodland effect, I put some brown food coloring on a paintbrush. Just gave it stripes like that. I made some little plants. I made a little campfire for it. Some more little flowers and things. These were just different molds and stuff that I had used. These are also gum paste, which is why they're nice and stiff. There's my little lumberjack boy sitting by the fireplace. His coloring and everything was requested by the customer. I made a deer. I made a little black bear. There's a couple of little pine trees back there behind them. And I didn't like that one because it was too hidden, so I slid it over a little bit. And even though this cake is not symmetrical, it has enough of a symmetrical feel that I thought it was good. So I went with it. There's some just different leaves that I'm pretending are bushes, that kind of thing, that I'm sticking hither and thither. And once I had them all set up, it looks super cute, and it's a very far cry from, the white sheet cake that came from the grocery store that I was handed at the beginning of all this. Okay, this part I wanted to show you because I had sent a picture to the customer, and they're like, "Oh, that's a really nice Christmas cake you made." And I was like, "Sugar, okay, yeah, all right." So they actually, it was a very good point. It was very fair. They said that they'd rather have a black border around the cake rather than the green trim that I put on. And it, when you're in the midst of it, you're like, "This is perfect. I wouldn't change a single thing." And then when they said that, I was like, it is a little on the Christmassy side. Shoot. Okay. So because I used a crusting buttercream, this stuff the cake was in the fridge, got nice and firm. I'm just using my little spatula there. This stuff just pops right off. It was no problem at all, except of course now I had to make more buttercream and then color it black, which is always, if you've made and tasted black buttercream icing, it's fun. Yeah, it's a good time. So yes, scraped it all off and then got to start it over. And of course, just because the top was green and the bottom was green, they both have to be scraped off too. And just like before, because there was the icing on the cookie or on the cake plate, I had to make sure that was cleaned off enough as well. So again, with a paper towel, I wiped it off. Now here's my black buttercream. It actually does look nicer. So it totally fair, judgment call on the client's part. So I had no problem doing this. And it really does look better, I gotta say. It looks much more buffalo plaid like they were hoping for. So once again, got out my star tip, started piping all around the top and the bottom of the cake, just like I did before. And once I had it all set, then I put it back in the fridge, let it set up, put my decorations back on it, because you can see I took them off in case they got dirty. And there it is. So it really is super cute, totally fair. And it made a boring sheet cake into a really cool cake. So I hope you found this video helpful. Please like and subscribe because it really does help me out. I've got a lot of other videos out there, so please take a look. And as always, thank you for watching Caketastic Cakes.